Trying to stay on the right side of the law, Joe Pesci as cousin Vinny and Marisa Tomei his loudmouth girlfriend. That's at 8 o'clock next Sunday on BBC1.
She'd never go back to him.
Charity, bound by duty.
My sister has a strong sense of her moral obligations.
What kind of a brother are you?
Faith that torments the soul.
I knew you'd come back, if only to gloat. You never hoped for such a glorious victory.
And hope that love conquers all.
That man has forfeited all right to be your husband.
Is this what you've come to tell me?
I came to tell you that I love you.
The Tenant of Wildfell Hall concludes in 15 minutes on BBC1.
We don't want to soak the taxpayer.
The promises that we make on tax.
We're tax cutters by instinct.
Or the starting rate of tax.
The basic rate of income tax to 20 pence in the pound.
15 or even 10 pence to help everyone.
Who should you believe? What should you believe? How much will you pay? One thing's for certain, it's your money, so you've a right to know. Your pound in their pocket. Panorama, tomorrow, 9:30 on BBC1. Discover the truth about tax.
The main evening news now on BBC1 with Peter Sissons.
It looks like MPs will get their debate on a single currency this week after all. They'll also be able to question the Chancellor on the issue the day before his budget as the government tries to contain the row. Where the hijacked Ethiopian Boeing hit the sea, survivors described the final minutes when it ran out of fuel. And armed police raid a North London hotel to free a disabled man kidnapped and held to ransom. Good evening. There are signs tonight that the government is preparing a retreat in the face of the wave of discontent among backbench MPs demanding an early debate on a single European currency. The Chancellor, Kenneth Clarke, is to make a surprise statement in the Commons tomorrow on the eve of the budget to address concerns among MPs about negotiations on the single currency and claims today that the government has withheld important documents from Parliament. There was also a strong hint from the President of the Board of Trade, Ian Lang, that the debate MPs want could happen this Friday. Our political correspondent Nicholas Jones reports.
Kenneth Clarke's final preparations for the budget on Tuesday, already getting mixed up with this row over Europe, will now have to be interrupted again so that he can make his hurried statement to MPs tomorrow afternoon. Leaked confidential documents from the European institution that's preparing for the single currency, the euro, have been seized on by Tory Eurosceptics as confirming their fears that the pound might be forced to shadow the euro despite the British opt-out. The Chancellor wants to correct what he says are misleading newspaper reports about the leaked papers, and he'll again seek to reassure MPs that no binding decisions will be taken by European finance ministers about Britain's position. The surprise statement follows the growing controversy over the government's refusal to allow time for a full Commons debate on the single currency. As a first step, John Major agreed with the Chancellor there should be an immediate statement. But the strength of the protests, led by the Tory Eurosceptics and backed up by MPs from all sides, looks like forcing another concession, with the President of the Board of Trade, Ian Lang, now suggesting a full debate could take place on Friday.
Anything is possible. The House of Commons can adapt itself. There is, for example, a debate on Friday on tourism. It may be that some people will think that that could be deferred, but that is not a decision that I should be involved in. That is a matter that the business managers will take.
Opposition parties have welcomed what they say is a climb down, but blame the confusion on the government.
This problem is entirely of the Prime Minister's own making, because he's been trying to patch over the internal divisions within the Conservative Party by obscuring and denying a debate on these matters, the full, honest public debate on these European matters that should be taking place.
The government have upset absolutely everybody on all sides of the argument and all sides of the House, and they simply cannot run away with ludicrous statements that this is not a matter of legitimate concern.
The next step towards ending this confrontation with MPs will come in the morning when the Prime Minister makes contact with Sir Marcus Fox, chairman of the committee representing backbench Conservatives. Another shift in the government's position seems highly likely. Kenneth Clarke and his cabinet colleagues are anxious to do all they can to stop this row, diminishing the impact of the budget on Tuesday. Nicholas Jones, BBC News, Westminster.
Within the past few minutes, European Union finance ministers have agreed to allow Italy to rejoin the exchange rate mechanism. Like the pound, the lira was forced out of the ERM 4 years ago. Following a meeting in Brussels, the finance ministers agreed to readmit the Italian currency at a central rate of 990 lira to the mark. Membership of the ERM is seen by most countries as an essential condition for joining economic and monetary union in 1999. Survivors from the hijacked Ethiopian airliner have been speaking about the final minutes as the plane ran out of fuel and ditched into the sea. One of the two British women survivors told her family she was trapped underwater, but had managed to release her seatbelt and swim to the surface. The pilot brought the plane down in shallow water off the Comoro Islands yesterday. Catherine Hayes from London and Elizabeth Anders from Surrey escaped with minor injuries. At least 67 people died in the crash. 50 others are still missing. Martin Dawes reports from the Comoros.
The airliner broke into 3 pieces on impact. The flight's final moments were almost silent as the engines ran out of fuel. Still visible are the seats which people struggled to free themselves from after the plane hit the water. The jet ditched just yards from one of the most exclusive resorts on the islands. The wreckage has come to provide a focus for curious holidaymakers and local people who watched even as divers worked to recover bodies from the sea.
The aircraft came into a ditching situation but dropped a wing, and as you can see from the wreckage there, it rolled onto its back, and many of the people were strapped into their seats and sank in the water of about 28 meters depth.
The plane came down just right in front of our water sport operation. It landed approximately 50 meters from a dive boat with divers underwater. We immediately got boats and skippers deployed out to the scene.
The local hospitals could have been overwhelmed, but most of the people who got out suffered relatively light injuries. Nearly all of the survivors have now been evacuated. The pilot was able to give warnings that he was about to ditch the aircraft.
Eventually, he ran out of fuel and he only had one engine working. And about 5 minutes before we crashed, he came on with the first of 2 announcements saying that we were going to have to ditch, to get ready to ditch, and for a water landing, to have everything ready, not to inflate, but have on the life vest, and to sit, with the proper position and so on. Then the second time it was quite clear that he was real.
The pilot and co-pilot survived. They were separated during the hijack, and the co-pilot became concerned about what was happening to his colleague in the cockpit.
I was beginning to be uneasy at right around 2 hours or so, and I told him, he might need my help. Would you like me to go into the cockpit? And he refused.
One of the 2 British survivors, Catherine Hayes, faxed her parents, telling how she managed to release her seatbelt and swim to the surface. Tomorrow, further attempts will be made to recover the remaining bodies from the wreckage. 2 of the hijackers are in custody. They said they wanted to make history. Martin Dawes, BBC News, the Comoro Islands.
4 men and a woman have been taken to Liverpool for questioning in connection with the kidnapping of a disabled man. Craig Alley, who has spina bifida, was abducted from his home in the city yesterday. He was later rescued by armed police in London. John McIntyre reports.
The kidnappers brought Craig Alley to this luxury hotel in North London after abducting him from his home in Liverpool. They then demanded a ransom of £51,000 from his father, but he alerted Merseyside police. After tracing the hotel in Barnet by monitoring outgoing telephone calls, the police were able to pinpoint this as one of the 2 rooms being used. One officer even dressed as a waiter as part of an undercover operation, which culminated in a dramatic raid by armed police using stun grenades as they stormed the rooms, warning hotel staff of their plans just seconds earlier.
I would hear probably maybe muffled shots because of stun guns or stun, whatever they're called.
and not to worry. As he finished this sentence, it all happened, and it was in the room right above my head, and it was terrifying.
Guests in the hotel were also taken by total surprise, many believing there was a fire.
Yes, we were just in the lounge having our coffee, and the alarm went off, the fire alarm, and the first thing we thought about was our children, you know, in their bedroom, because they were asleep, and we were worried about them being disturbed by the alarm and waking up distressed.
At a news conference this afternoon, Merseyside Police praised the operation by South East Regional Crime Squad and defended the use of such tactics, believing Craig's life was in danger.
Obviously there's a risk whenever we conduct an operation of this kind. There were reasons which led us to believe that it was necessary for us to go in when we did. We were concerned for his safety, and we thought it was the right time to go in, and that's what we did.
Craig, a 21-year-old who suffers from spina bifida, is safe and well and now back in Liverpool at a secret address while the investigation continues. A total of 5 people, 4 men and a woman, have been arrested. As yet, the police are unclear about the motive for the kidnap attempt, but with such a specific